Jessie Pyle, and we're just going to be doing some Q&A and just talking about hearing loss and how that's affected her life. So when were you first diagnosed, and what did that look like for you?
Well, I was first diagnosed when I was 9 months old. My parents, they were both working at the time, so my aunt and uncle and my grandparents, they babysat me a lot. And one day, my parents actually came home around the same time, and my uncle met them outside. And my dad likes to tell us that he had this really competitive spirit because he comes out and he's like, I don't think Jessie knows her name yet because I wasn't responding to my name. And so my parents were determined to prove him wrong. So my aunt and uncle, my grandparents, my mom and dad were in my living room just pretty much surrounding me and just yelling my name at me. And I'm just totally oblivious to it all, like playing with my Barbie dolls. And then my mom, I think she was the one who realized that I was picking up visual cues when I responded, if any response. And then my grandfather, he took pots and pans and he went up to this landing in our living room. It like kind of opens up to the second floor too, and he just started banging pots and pans, and I didn't flinch. So I live in Nashville, Tennessee, my whole life. So I was taken to the Bill Wilkerson Center and the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, and I was diagnosed with moderately severe hearing loss in both ears. And I've been wearing hearing aids my whole life, so it's pretty much my normal.
Do you have? That's weird.
I actually have Audicon Safari 300 SP, and the only reason I know that is because I checked on the way over here, and because I thought that might be a question for something like this. I honestly never, hearing aids, I never really think of it in terms like technology and just like even frequencies, like what percentage hearing loss I have in both ears. I maybe have had 7, maybe 5 different kinds of hearing aids in my entire life. I've been really blessed to be able to wear hearing aids and such great ones, so yeah.
What kind, why have you tried so many?
Well, the Vanderbilt Children's Research Hospital, Bill Wilkerson Center, I was really, my brother and I, actually my brother, he also has moderately severe hearing loss in both ears. He is 20 months younger than I am, and we both just been really involved in Bill Wilkerson Center, and we've done a lot of research projects for them, like testing hearing aids for them.
Okay, so you said before that you tried many different kinds of hearing aids. And so was it frustrating, like having to change once you got used to one to another?
Definitely a little bit frustrating. It's been a bit of an adaptation from each one, and there have been days where I'll have changed from one to the other, and I'll be sitting in the car and everything just seems louder almost, but it's like not the good kind of louder. It's just like, Mom, I don't think I realized how loud this engine in the car was, and it just it's new, and it takes a while, like maybe a week to get used to, but I always get used to it.
Wow, yeah. Okay. So what kind of hearing aid do you have?
So I have an Audicon Safari 300 SP. It goes behind the ear, and it's very, very slender, very lightweight, like the molds
right designs on it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
They gave me stickers one time, and I just decided to go for it. Yeah, decorated my hearing aid, but yeah.
No, that's
I love
cute.
it.
I love that. What kind of hearing mold is this? It's like a full ear mold.
It's like, I couldn't tell you like what kind, but they always like, you can edit this out, but oh my gosh, they always like put in the little gel.
Yeah, we watched that in class.
It's definitely a weird feeling, but I always love it. They give me the putty to play with afterwards.
Yeah, they give us the putty. Yeah. Anyways,
it's been a weird childhood, like joy of mine.
That's great.
So how has your hearing loss affected your family life, and social situations and how people treat you?
Well, I have been really blessed kind of growing up. You know, my parents, when they found out that I was born with hearing loss, of course, it was all very new to them. I was the first in the family to even have had this moderately severe hearing loss. And after research at Vanderbilt, they found that my mom's gene and my dad's gene combined created this hearing loss gene, and that's where my brother and I get hearing loss. My brother is actually 20 months younger than I am, and as soon as he was born, my parents took him to Vanderbilt and had him tested for hearing loss. And his initial report showed that he had normal hearing, but after a couple of months, it gradually decreased. He after a couple of months, they learned that he had more and more hearing loss, and then it plateaued. So now it's still plateaued. But kind of thing. My parents, they've been such amazing role models. I'm really blessed beyond belief to have had such great parents who could provide like emotional support, financial support for my brother and I, and they not only my parents, my aunt and uncles, my grandparents, like my granddad would be talking to my grandmother, and as soon as they heard the news, my granddad's first response was, if we need to sell our house to help them out, we will do that. And my aunt Cynthia, she spent it was my grandparents and my aunt living in Nashville with us at the time, and my aunt Cynthia, she spent weeks at a time at the Nashville library, reading every single book she could find on hearing loss, and it was just amazing. She's like a second mother to me, and no one in my family's ever really treated me differently. It's hearing loss, hearing aids, it's my brother and mine, it's our normal. And honestly, social situations, I've never been a big fan of Marco Polo at the pool or the game category, because my friends are amazing though. They let me be the girl who just runs off the diving board, and I'll just take a color if they said a fruit for category. And they've been my friends have been really great growing up. No one's ever really been mean about it, or they've never really been overly curious or questionable about it. I've had a really blessed life, I feel with hearing loss. And my brother as well. My brother, we're both a little insecure about it. Maybe my brother a little more, because he always he's always trying to grow out his hair a little longer so that he can cover his hearing aids. It's easier for me to kind of conceal that I wear hearing aids. I've had this one friend who, after 3 months, didn't even realize that I wore hearing aids until I had my hair in a ponytail. Wow. And that's really how people learn that I have hearing aids, when I have it up in a ponytail. But yeah, my brother, he's been a really amazing support in my life too. We're only 20 months apart, so we're really close, and it's just really nice to have someone who knows exactly what you're going through. And if I come home and I'm just really exhausted, sometimes social situations, if I'm in a noisy, crowded environment, it can just be really exhausting trying to make sure you're catching everybody's conversations, what they're saying. And some people, if I'm in a noisy environment, some people think I'm really quiet, but it's only because I'm trying so hard to catch what everybody else is saying that it takes me a while to catch up for when I respond. But yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just been really great, honestly. I haven't really had any emotional stress over it, except the occasional. Maybe there was this one time, I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but
that's great.
There's one time I was sitting in my English class senior year, or junior year actually, and I was sitting next to my best friend, and earlier in that class, one of my hearing aid batteries went out. And I thought, no worries, I'll just grab a hearing aid battery for my brother in the hallway or something like that, because the only hearing aid batteries I had was in my car in the parking lot. And then I'm sitting there, and it's 10 minutes left of class, and my other hearing aid battery goes out. And this was the only time I've ever been in a social situation with both hearing aid batteries going out. And I'm just sitting there, and for 2 minutes straight, I just sat there, and the teacher was still talking, and I just had no idea what to do. And I just kind of turned to my best friend, and I'm like, like trying so hard to whisper, but I could not tell like how loud or
it was.
how soft it was. And I was
Oh.
like, I gotta go tell the teacher. Like,
Oh my gosh.
like it was kind of like scary too. Like it's not like in hindsight, like it's not really a big deal when you look at it, but it was just kind of like claustrophobic because I've always depended on my hearing aids, and I just kind of ran into the hallway and just like prayed that no one stopped me in the hallway and like to talk to me or something like that. And I just ran out to my car and kind of like started bawling because it was just kind of really overwhelming. And it's other than that, I mean, it's been great. I've had a great support system in my life. And, yeah, that's awesome.
So how was the transition to college, like leaving that huge support system that you've lived with forever and like leaving your brother kind of, wait, is he at Baylor?
No, he is.
Yeah, so how was it leaving him?
Yeah. It was definitely a huge transition. I was actually the summer leading up to my fall semester freshman year, I was really nervous, and I was just like, I'd been given all this information from orientation. Ola has been a huge support system here so far, and I met with them over the summer at orientation, and they were just so helpful with like, they told me that if like teachers needed to like give me like PowerPoints ahead of time, then if I needed that would be great. And honestly, like the classes so far have been great. I haven't really needed to have like PowerPoints ahead of time, but I've always been a fan of like when I introduce myself to a professor, I'm like, I'm gonna really need those subtitles for the semester. And I emailed my admissions counselor over the summer because I was talking to her about just like Ola in general and just what it would just kind of be like to like leave that support system and just be here on my own with hearing aids. And she responded so quickly, and she told me about this good friend of mine now, Audrey Taylor. She is
we know her.
yeah, she knew her from Tridel, and she told me about how Audrey had grown up with hearing aids too and was at Baylor, and that she would be willing to meet with me. And I said that would be great, and so I emailed Audrey over the summer, and then once I got here to Baylor, I emailed her, and she agreed to meet with me at Common Ground, and we just talked for hours. And it was like the right after the first day of school, and I just kind of knew that I would be okay, you know. Like it was just great. I've had a great support system here. It's kind of funny that it's definitely been a bubble back in my hometown because I've grown up and I've never met a single like friend who wore hearing aids other than my brother like my whole life. And it's kind of odd, but like coming here, I met one of my future roommates wears hearing aids too, and we just really bonded over that too. And I've met so many other people who wear hearing aids, and it's just been kind of a shocker because I'm like, where have the people been in my own hometown? Like, have I just been missing them my whole life? But it's been great.
So, Jessie, do you have a job?
I do not actually. I am so busy with schoolwork and with being a part of Vertical and Tridel, and I'm also part of Care for AIDS every now and then. But I did have a job a couple summers ago. It's actually really interesting. I worked at a place called Monkey Joe's, and do y'all know Pump It Up? You know what that is? It's like, okay, there's a lot of bounce houses in Pump It Up.
Yes.
So Monkey Joe's is basically a bunch of bounce houses for birthday parties for kids like 1 to 7 years old. And so that work environment was the sound of the constant like whirring of like inflating bounce houses because they're like on 24/7 to keep the bounce houses inflated. And then the kids weren't particularly quiet, so that was always like screaming kids in the background too. But it was a really great job. My manager, she was married to someone who wore hearing aids, so she was really accommodating and she was really understanding. And I had coworkers who were really understanding too, like because one of my job requirements was to answer the phone while I worked the counter. And when I had someone else working the counters with me, they agreed to take the phone calls for me, because sometimes it was hard to understand what someone was saying on the other side because there was so much going on in the background. But it was a really great experience, and there have been times, like I'm applying to be a campus visits representative, and the only part I'm a little nervous about is speech. Like, there's a lot of talking when it comes to like giving tours and whatnot, and sometimes when I get a little nervous, like I stumble on my speech, or like my S's aren't as sharp, and I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm hoping, I just give it my best, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I babysit a lot. Like, that was my actual kind of job for the last 3 years. I was a regular babysitter for multiple families. And whenever I started a new family, the kids' first question were, why do I talk like I have braces? And I was like, well, life throws you lemons sometimes, kids, and you just gotta take it as it is. So the kids have always been great, like kids are always gonna be curious. They can't help it.
They have no filter.
Yeah. Which I always found it hilarious. And then, kind of thing. But yeah, just I always worry about maybe running into some obstacles in the future. It's natural, but I don't think it's anything I can't overcome. So yeah.
And do you have any like hobbies, and like whatever you do for fun, how does it affect that as well?
Let's see, hobbies. I've been like so busy here at college, it's like hobbies don't exist anymore sometimes. Like, I love reading. I think of that as a hobby sometimes.
It's totally a hobby.
I love swimming, and of course that was always affected, like when it came to wearing hearing aids. There was this 1 year in middle school, I was on the swim team, but only because my best friend was on the same swim team, and anything the coach said out of the water, she just relayed it back to me in the water, and which was amazing. But kind of thing, other hobbies, I love anything outdoors. Like, I love anything having to do with hiking, like canoeing. Canoeing is always fun. There is this one time where, like, sometimes I'll keep my hearing aids in when I'm actually in the boat, and then my friends and I will get out and go swimming. So it's always just like a transition of like stopping, putting my hearing aids in, then getting out of the water, drying myself off, putting my hearing aids back in. But it's never really been anything that's like I can't do anything because I wear hearing aids. Like, my parents have really raised my brother and I, Charlie, to know that, like, just because we wear hearing aids, yeah, there's going to be obstacles, but obstacles are something you can get over.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can always. Yeah.
Wearing the earplug in my ear all day was a new experience for me, for sure. It was kind of strange, just having something in my ear in general for the entire day, and I found myself feeling like I was in a well whenever I would talk, and so that talking was weird, and then I had to listen super hard, especially to people who were on that side, and so I don't know, it was really easy to check out, especially in class. I'd be sitting in class and it would just be so easy to just stop listening, because listening became an effort. And so I was trying to put forth that effort and then found myself super exhausted at the end of the day. And so it it really had an impact on me, and I can see how that would be difficult for people who start wearing hearing aids um, and such. And so I think it was a really good experience. There was one point during my day when I walked by my friend David, and he was talking to me, and he was a little ways away, and I genuinely did not know anything that he said. And I was just like, I just smiled and waved, just like, hey. But missed everything he said completely. And so it that's crazy. It's so frustrating to not be able to communicate so frustrating to not be able to understand what someone is trying to communicate to you. And so I feel like I understand a little bit of that frustration now, after this experience. So overall, it was good. I feel like I learned a lot.
So I had to wear an earplug for the day, and it was just really difficult because I couldn't hear anything. It was just really muffled the whole time. Didn't really know what was going on. And I think the hardest part was that I couldn't hear myself speak. So that was just really difficult because my voice is a lot quieter because I couldn't hear myself. When I thought I was speaking normally, I was actually more whispering. And when I tried to speak normally, it felt like I was yelling. And so that was just really hard because no one could understand me. No one knew what I was saying. No one could hear me. So that made it really hard when I went to mainly public places like common grounds or the postal office. I think the hardest part was at life group. That night, I host at my house roughly 30 people to just share the gospel with, but there's 30 people in a small duplex, and so I found myself subconsciously sitting in the corner just kind of watching everybody else interact because it was just really difficult always having to say what and just having to really focus on what they were saying and how their lips were moving and just everything. It was just really difficult comparative to having normal hearing. So yeah, like this one instance, somebody was trying to talk to me. They were only 5 feet away, which doesn't seem that hard, but when you don't have hearing in one ear, it was really difficult. I had no idea what he was saying. I just kept saying, what? And finally I just did the whole nod and smile deal. So yeah, that was just really difficult to go through. So for me, the hardest part was not being able to hear myself and being really quiet. And in that area, having to play the what game back and forth because they couldn't hear me, I couldn't hear them. I didn't really know how to handle it, so I just sat in the corner because it was too much effort to really like strain myself to get really close to somebody, get in their bubble and try to listen to them. So yeah, that was kind of my ordeal, my experience going through it. Yeah.
For the past few weeks, I have spontaneously worn a hearing aid. And I actually got really excited for this project because I love hearing aids. It's so nerdy, but I don't care because it's just really fun. And so I wore it like right here for the past few weeks, like maybe like a few times a week, just to kind of gather up like responses and experiences. One of the main things I realized is that this is just a skeletal, but it's still obstructed my ability to hear. When my friends would be in front of me talking or would be walking places and they'd be talking, I couldn't see their mouth. And I'd be like, and I'd totally forget I have this. And I'd, wait, what? What? Like, it was really, really difficult to hear. And it wasn't even completely obstructing my canal, which was kind of strange. But it really had me have an even bigger respect because it literally does make you very tired and it's very frustrating and you're just kind of like, what, and also with this on, I've had a lot of people treat me differently. I had people that I kind of am friends with, but they don't really know me too well, and when I'd have my hair completely back, like out of my way, and they'd see it, they'd be like, oh, I didn't realize that you wore a hearing aid. That's what it is. And like they try to talk louder, and I'd kind of go with it for a minute, but then I'd go into town that was a project. But when I told them that, oh yeah, I do, like just to see what they would say, they'd immediately get louder and like try to let me hear, and then they treat me a little bit more special. When I'd go to like the tanning salon or HEB or something and I had my hair up, I'd be talking to them, and then I'd like turn my head just to see what they do, and they go, and they'd change their whole facade, and it was just really, really interesting to see the different experiences with it, but it completely gave me a whole new respect for the hearing impaired and for people who have to do this all the time and have to wear these all the time, because even though it does help their hearing, I mean, it's it can be frustrating at times, and I could just pull it out of my ear. Some people, and I could hear, and some people just aren't fortunate to have that, and so it just makes me very appreciative and also very more respectful of the people who suffer from hearing loss and who go through their days like this, and it just makes me feel very lucky, but also very lucky to be able to understand them now and to be able to sympathize with them and be on their side and kind of get a little bit of where they're coming from. So, yeah.